Hi, today I have the very greatest pleasure to be having a chat with Fuan Wong, who really needs no introduction, but he is known as Penang's glass artist extraordinaire. And we are in his fabulous art and garden, which is very apt because it is a wonderful melding of his glass art, his love for horticulture, and also his support for his fellow artist friends whose artwork is prominently displayed in the garden. So I just wanted to start off by asking you, first and foremost, you have had a long, well, not a long history, but you are a man of many talents and you have done so many different things. And how did that help you in your journey towards establishing yourself as a glass artist? Because I know you've studied landscape architecture, you're a horticulturist, you've done mosaic making, stained glass, even watercolor painting, which is something not many people know. You know, how did that all help you or not?
Okay, to answer your question, I think every little bit that you encounter in life in the end helps you, whether it be working as a draftsman or learning how to till the soil or whatever. At some point, like a bad deed, it comes back to haunt you or to help you. So I think basically this place is an amalgamation of everything I've ever worked for and all the things that I love. It's also, well, I try to show people, number one, what are the possibilities, whether they be plants or art, and also to encourage young people. Living as we do in a third world country, where the arts is seen as not important, I think it's very important that young struggling artists understand that a lot can be achieved just using the medium that they choose to indulge in. But obviously it's a really, really long, hard slog, and I've been extremely lucky to meet the people that I have met. So there you go. Or you being one of them. You have some lovely work here. So that's the question, the answer.
It is so difficult for an artist starting out to find an identity, isn't it? They dabble in this, dabble in that, and try different things. But how do you have any nuggets of wisdom to help those who are trying too many different things, find a path, help them, guide them in finding their way?
I think that if one was fortunate enough to attend an art school, you are given a foundation course and you're taught everything from dance to sculpture to, and hopefully in that 1 year you pick on something that you will gel at. And for those who don't have that good fortune to go to school, then I suggest you just keep trying and trying and trying until something does gel. I mean, like you mentioned just now, I did painting, I did, all this stuff. It's a bit like you, Esther. I'm going to throw the ball right back into your court.
Okay.
I mean, you became a doctor,
yes.
And yet here you are painting these wonderful pictures of plants. So you probably can answer that too, that it's a bit like a calling, isn't it? And when it calls out to you, you tend to, you find it very hard to ignore it.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I don't want this whole conversation to sound terribly self-indulgent, because my heart does go out to people who want to do what we do and can't because of economic reasons. And that to me is at once tragic and terrible, because that's probably just one more person who isn't able to realize their potential artistically, you see. Yeah. They may be really very good, and I knew a few of them at being creative. Yeah. But because they had to be lawyers or doctors or whatever, so my take on this is that if they made money, they ended up being collectors, right? There was a very famous lawyer who's now dead, whom I used to hang out with. He's much older than me. He built up vast collections of ceramics, teapots, paintings, whatever. And he told me one day that he said the only thing he indulged in was photography, because he wasn't creative at all. He was very technical minded. So I said, well, that's not strictly true because, you know. But the long and the short of it is, he was also one of the lucky ones. The problem is, there are people who cannot because they have to make the money to feed their families.
Yes.
So we're a long way off from being like in developed countries where, you know, possibly the state or the government or some association steps up to help these people and say, you know what, you know, we think you're really very good, and here's a grant that will enable you to live for 5 years. So do your worst, and if at the end of it something happens, then that's great. So that's a long time from happening.
But the brutal truth is, as you say, for a lot of artists, they have to be working a day job, a paying job that will allow them to pay the bills, get food on the table, and still find time to be creative and do their art.
And to a very large extent, I had to go through that too.
Yes.
I could not ignore my financial obligations.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. A lot of artists who choose this path, I'm finding out, are quite content to sit around coffee shops and talk about their art. I mean, given that you've decided not to take on a job. I took on a job. For many years, I did floristry. And I did stained glass to order. Right? And then I did what I wanted in the nights when I had spare time. So of course, all the young artists will be very unpopular, but I find them sitting around not doing very much when they could actually. So I guess it's really they're just not maybe consumed enough. And out of the 20 that do choose this path, maybe 2 or 3 will be consumed enough to actually make a go of it, right? It's a terrible judgment, but my warning is that all the talent in the world is worth nothing if you don't put your nose to the grinding wheel. That's just it.
Yeah.
And when you get to my age, our age, Esther, time is incredibly precious.
Yeah.
I've had so many contemporaries just drop dead. With every single person who goes away from me, dies, it just makes me go into this state where I realize I got to do more. You know. So now this is rapidly turning into a monologue, so you got to step in and stop me. But a favorite idea of mine that was espoused by this psychologist was that we don't actually have the ideas. These ideas are, it's a little bit far-fetched, but bear with me. I thought that's true. They're all floating around and they actually latch onto you.
Yeah.
And given your particular skill set, this particular idea then is desperately trying to come to creation through you.
Yeah.
And Carl Jung once said, a man cannot rest until he brings it all out. So to me, I firmly believe that. I have been through these processes where I've done a thing and I'm just not happy and I keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And then the demon will let me rest when that idea is satisfied. So it's a conceit we have that we have these ideas. No, on the contrary, the ideas have us. And it is at once an honor and a trial that we were chosen, you know, to bring forth these ideas. I mean, same with you, right?
Yeah.
You had, if you didn't listen to this inner voice or this demon of ideas, you would be in a hospital.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what about telling us your journey about, you know?
I think definitely with my journey, I grew up in the age where being an artist was not a proper job, a proper occupation, and you will never make money, right? That sort of thing. So you had to choose a profession that would allow you to be financially independent, which is not a
not a bad thing, given that we're immigrant,
you know?
Chinese and
yeah.
You know,
And I think also, you know, just as an aside, I think a lot of young artists have this ideology that you create art and it will sell and you will be financially independent, and that's not true lah. So you know, so I did my training, got my nose in the books, did my training and practiced for many years as an anesthetist, and then when I had a bit more time, you know, my children were growing up, and I could then indulge, as you say, doing other things, but also the creativity, that very tenuous thing, comes from experiences, life experiences, things that you then learn to notice and see differently. And I think that also comes with maturity, with age, and having gone through life. You know, if you've had a absolutely, you know, fantastic life, no struggles and anything like that, I think it's very hard to draw on nothing.
Well, Esther, I think most people looking at your life would think that you've had a pretty fantastic life and a fairly privileged one. And
yes.
to be honest, me also.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always feel that if we stop being grateful for what we have, then it all ends.
Yeah.
And I continually try to be grateful. You know,
Yeah.
I'm always comparing not myself with the poorer, with the richer people or the better off, but with those who don't have as much as I do.
Yeah.
So we are really well off.
Yeah.
Then again, back to your thing about, you know, it's the demands of the soul. It's this creative process will have its outlet. So I guess you know, when I looked at your work, I used to buy books because I couldn't afford actual books on actual paintings of you know, it's a whole genre, these plant painters, right? So it's got a long distinguished history. My thing started when I opened up a book in the Kew Gardens shop by Marion North, who was an explorer and so on.
Yeah.
And then I realized that actually it was a thing. People just collected paintings of plants, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw your work, I realized that, wow, she's as good as any of these people I've seen in the books. Better than a lot of them as well.
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's the same like when I saw Chu Boon Tiong. I realized, and this is like 30 years ago, I saw his little kingfisher in a frame shop, and I told the frame owner, people who did the frame, I said, tell me who this is. I have to get in touch with him. You know, because I realized, amongst us, the dross, all these nuggets of gold gleaming everywhere, and you know, so that's what's quite exciting, lah. You know, it's now it's easier because of Facebook and all that.
Yeah.
But in my day, 30, 40 years ago. By the way, I'm 60 and I'm not ashamed to admit it. It was very hard to get in touch with people of like mind, you see.
Sure.
So we are a little bit better off now, you know. Yeah, so to continue with your thing, then you became a full-time painter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, full-time mother, juggling
Always,
all that,
yes.
and then as well as being a full-time painter.
So did you ever actually work as a doctor?
Yes,
for
I did.
Many years?
I worked, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years.
Wow, okay.
As a doctor at least. As a medical officer, training in anesthesiology.
Yes.
And then I got my master's in anesthesiology and actually practiced as a registrar in Singapore at the time. I was studying in Singapore as well and working in Singapore for a few more years before I retired to do painting as a full-time job.
Was there much gnashing of teeth and wailing when you decided?
There was plenty of comments of how...
What a waste.
What a waste.
Yeah.
How much money you wasted and time you wasted. But as you say, it is a calling, and I felt that I had moved on. It's a different phase in my life. And I would say that I work as hard now as I did before as a doctor. I put in the hours, and that's something that we both agree on and we talk about a lot, you know, that people have to, young artists, any artist of whatever age, need to understand that you don't just create fabulous works of art, you know,
waiting for
just
the
like
inspiration.
It's work. It's hours of work.
Sheer hard
it's
work.
Sheer hard work. I've seen the evidence of blood and sweat and tears sometimes, and it's commitment. It's you get up, you work. It's a working day. You know, it's not dabble 1 hour done, right? It's a working day, and every day you are working.
Yes, but you know, there you go. So I think we should conclude now because they're making all that noise. that generally, you know, we just need to work really hard, and then it'll all come into place, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why, viewers, we've moved is because there was some construction on the land beneath, so we thought best that we move it up to the gallery. And yes, you will have noticed it's much cooler here. There's an aircon and no mosquitoes. Okay. So as we were talking, we were saying just now about hard work and all the rest of it. And I learned about that because I spoke to a lady who was a freelance architect. Okay. And she told me that there were 3 days of a week when she didn't see anybody.
Yeah.
So I said, what, are you some sort of a recluse? She said, no. I have to make sure that I spend 6 to 8 hours of these 3 days working non-stop. Because if not, I'll be swamped with requests and clients and meetings and all the rest of it. And no work will get done. And I thought, yes, it's good that she does that, and that's something we need to learn to do, because then we treat it more like a job.
Yes.
As opposed to something that we only do when we have time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's something that I think young artists also need to take note, that sheer hard work is what makes the thing go.
Yeah.
Talent on its own is just that, talent. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But we are the instruments to create, you know, nice work, and it just takes hard work. Right?
Yeah.
But do you ever feel that your husband or your children feel neglected? Was there any point when they said, Mummy, you know, enough with the painting, we need to go to the grocery shop or something?
Well, yes and no. I think there is no real answer to that, apart from the fact that, you know, I do allocate time, as you said, allocate time to work. And they know that that time is sacrosanct. They do not disturb me. I have found that what actually helps is having a separate room or a studio off premises where they really cannot come and reach me unless it's by phone, and I leave my phone on the side, and you know, I will check messages every now and then, because at the end of the day, when you have children, things happen, school, so-called
demands on your
demands
time.
on my time. But otherwise, I have separated time, allocated time away from home duties and chores and errands, and then apart from that, my time is with them. So once pickup is done, I am fully focused on the kids.
Because because I worked at home, we were having people just dropping in, and I was saying, well, it'd be nice if you call. Call for what? You're at home. What? We know you're at home. As if the job that I was doing was not important enough. I mean, somebody actually once said, not like you're a lawyer and accountant, why you don't need to clock in. And I'm thinking, bloody cheek, you know. They don't understand the demands on a person's time. Everything is important. I mean, even a person who sweeps a drain, he needs to be given the time to do it, and respect, you know. So yeah, that's something that, but the focus of this actually is about how hard we should be working, because you know, nothing ever gets done.
And
just
glamorous pieces don't magic themselves out of thin air.
Actually, coming to talk about glamour, that's also another important thing. People see the art show, they see the accolades, they see the acclaim, and they don't realize that none of it is worth really anything if you are not happy with the work. So we have young artists who try to do things for the market. That in itself is not wrong. Again, back to the old question of economics. But I think at some point one is able to reconcile the two. And I think the most important thing we can impart to young people is, regardless of whether it's about your work or about the rest of your life, I think a life lived with integrity. And I don't mean, oh, you know, I'm not going to cheat the person of the $2 that he overcharged, he overchanged me, I'll give it back to him. It's not about that. It's really about being true to yourself. Telling yourself that, no, this is not working because I was slipshod, I'll do it again. And that's really the only way at the end of the day. Okay, I won't talk about when we die, but when we go to sleep, that we realize, yeah, that was a good 4 hours or 6 hours. And also young people need to understand that if you live your life with integrity, everything falls into place. You know? So I have no children, but if I had, I'd be drumming that into them all the time, right? But again, I think artists, okay, not film stars, we're not film stars, but we do have a sort of a role model responsibility up to a
Yes.
small point.
Yes.
So we need to also conduct ourselves in a certain way that, people think, wow, okay, he's done it, he's quite successful. And then they do copy you. Young people
Yeah.
do nothing but copy,
Yeah.
right? And they should until they
Yeah.
find their own way.
Yeah.
So that's fairly important to maintain the face of being upright and true to yourself. Meaning, not shortchanging your client,
Yeah.
not shortchanging yourself with your work, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about integrity, you never fail to remind me of an opportunity that came my way, and I eventually said no.
Yes.
And although having remembered another lesson that you taught me was never say no immediately to anything, right?
Yes.
But I did think long and hard about it, and I also realized that with keeping with this idea of integrity, there was no way
You could have
I could have
succeeded,
succeeded in the time I was given to produce work that I would have been happy to.
Yes. Now, do you know what
Give.
I would have done?
What would you
I would
done?
have done work to fit the time. And I wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah.
And I would have submitted it, I would have gotten paid.
Yeah.
And then I would have worked properly on it later when I had time.
Yeah.
And I would have gone to them and I would have said, this is what I intended to do 2 years ago. Will you take this instead? And
then
I've
get
actually done it.
replaced. Right.
I've actually sat in at meetings. Incidentally, it's
Yeah.
the same client. We shall remain nameless. And they really liked an idea that we put forward.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, but we need to open by that. So I said, okay, we'll do it. And when we did it, actually they were all very pleased. But I could see that this was not something that could last very long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I then, in my own time, I came up with several alternatives. And in the end, they realized, and I went to them and I said, as an artist, I think what I did was terrible. I'm very happy that you all liked it, but it fulfilled the needs at that time.
Yes.
You were rushing to open,
Yes.
and we needed something on the walls.
Yeah.
So this is my alternative. And I gave them something to choose from. So eventually, as with these things and how ponderously they move, they finally made a decision. The people that I worked with liked the idea immediately, but they said it has got to go through all the hoops, and it did. So 2 years later, I've got to do that for them, which I'm very happy to, because I mean, can you imagine work of yours that you are not happy with sitting there and people be
No,
judging you
absolutely.
forever?
Yeah, I know, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that drives me at the end of the day to accept or not a
Yeah,
commission,
yeah.
because if it's a commission that doesnuld allow me to do my very
justice,
best
yeah,
and do
yeah.
justice to it, I would definitely find it very hard to say yes to.
Yes, but like I said, we have ways around that.
Yeah. And this is something we have to learn, because you have
Yes.
had more years of experience in the profession, right?
Oh, of course, the experience is that you need to gauge your clients,
Yeah.
right? And if you know that they will not accept it, your bad work. Although, again, sometimes, whether it's bad or not, it's just a viewpoint,
Yeah.
right?
True,
With
true.
art, it's very hard to say. But you yourself only know
Yes.
how much of yourself you put into that work.
Yes.
That's it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So integrity, again,
Yeah.
falls back on that.
Yeah.
So we're running out of stuff to talk about.
No, we're not. I want to know what other things motivate you. Okay, so like all work, right? Some days it's hard to get up and get out of bed and go and do it.
Esther, it's never hard.
Because?
No, seriously. And that's something I think, if it's hard, you're in the wrong profession. Whether you're an
Absolutely.
accountant
Absolutely.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
if you have a choice,
Yeah.
then change it.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned. Okay,
Yeah.
I bummed around for 20 years after I left school. And my extremely loving parents didn't think it was a bad thing. They were just supportive no matter what I wanted to do. But the point is this. Now, every day I wake up and I cannot wait to jump out of bed. And if it means I wake up at 3, which I do,
Yeah.
I've done reading the news and playing my Facebook. At 4, I'm down there working. And I have had people who've asked me, we haven't seen you take a holiday in years. Surely, you can afford it. I said, yeah, you don't understand. Every day is a holiday.
Yeah.
Now, we've had people who talk to me about this, and then they themselves came to the realization and they said, Fuan, you are the luckiest person I know. I said, and you know what? I know that. And for as long as fate or destiny allows me to have the full use of my faculties, that's how I will live my life, right? So, having said that, all right, I went through a severe bout of an attack of bipolar syndrome. And the depression was crippling. For about 3 years, I didn't do anything but seek a way out of this pain. There was suicidal ideations. There was just a desperate escape from this bleakness. Until, and I'm saying this just to show people that, you know, help is always there.
Yeah.
A very kind psychiatrist told me, maybe it's just a chemical you lack.
Right.
Right. And it was. Right. It was. I had a wonderful childhood.
Yeah.
I have a very loving environment. I was brought up very, very secure. So she said, you know something, it's just a chemical. And then I realized, okay, I'll go on medication, you know? Yeah. And I did, and it worked. Yeah. You know, and of course you've got all those brainless half-twits who say, you get addicted, you won't, and then, you know, if you don't get the medication, then you die, all that nonsense, right? Yeah. If you had diabetes, you would need to take medication for the rest of your life. That's so I don't see the problem there. Yeah. But what it did was it cured me, and it freed me from all this pain to be the person that I am. And it's not true that an unhappy artist turns out great work. That's absolute nonsense.
It's very hard to get going.
And I knew something was wrong when I couldn't face doing my work. Yeah. I didn't even want to go into my workroom. And then I knew, this one is bad. Yeah. It's not a temporary thing. Yeah. So if any people hearing this have even the slightest, you know, thing about depression, go seek help. Talk to friends. Talk to me, you know. Everybody knows how to reach me. Yeah. Or you or anybody, right? But don't be stupid and kill yourself or do drugs or crazy stuff. Yeah. You know, that doesn't help at all. Yeah. Yeah.
And in fact, doing art, creating art is a very positive outlet for negativity, emotions, you know, all that sort of thing. I find that generally when I am creating, painting, drawing, whatever it is, it helps my brain process.
Well, I'm quite sure that you know how people say if you're meditating, then the mind waves go into this theta or alpha or beta or whatever waves. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure if we were hooked up to a machine, that would show when we were working deep into our work. Because it's very therapeutic, and artists live very long generally, right? Because the huge moments of their lives when they're buried in this other world, which is a lot like meditation. So
definitely.
So then that's why you know you're in trouble. We talk about the depression again when you can't even work. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's a bit like meditation. That is advised for depressive patients. Yes. But not the severely depressive ones because they can't sit still long enough. The feelings of bleakness are overwhelming. Yeah. So another thing that I discovered was this whole concept we have of being happy. That's really the most fleeting thing I have ever encountered, right? Happy for 10 minutes, okay? So what I realized that was being an artist and turning out good work, and then, you know, the other parts of my life was to find meaning in your life. And you will find meaning everywhere, even in any of your relationships with people that you have, friends, family. You know, be the best son, be the best daughter, be the best cousin, whatever. But just be the best person you can be, and find meaning, because happiness doesn't last really very long. But if your life is full of meaning, that you matter to people, the things you do matter to people, then I think pretty much, even if you don't turn out great work, you've achieved something, right?
Yeah. That's very true.
That's really important.
Yeah, and a lot of young people, and this is something that I tell my children as well, as they are choosing career paths and choosing occupations, you know, that the most important thing is choose something you enjoy doing.
Yes.
Don't go and study something you absolutely hate or you're just ambivalent about. Even, you know, you've got to choose something that you enjoy and you,
Yes.
as you say, when you wake up every morning, you will want to go to work and do this thing.
But the problem is, Esther, somehow children at that age when they have to choose, they haven't experienced enough.
Correct.
I've had friends push their children my way,
Yeah.
talk to them because they don't know what they want.
Yeah.
Well, I talk to them, they still don't know what they want. And then I realized this is very common. Our school system maybe doesn't set you up that automatically when you're 18 or 20 or, you know, pre-uni days or whatever, you know what you want to be. Very few people have that, right? I didn't know what I wanted to be. I spent years in the wilderness not knowing what I was ultimately going to be and getting depressed about it. So I suppose it's a little bit hard on the kids. And then I know somebody who became a financial something and then he switched to fashion design and then he switched to fashion retail, you know, but he was lucky lah, right? So even with your kids, you mentioned just now, sometimes I think they don't even know what to pick.
No,
Yeah?
it's true.
Yeah.
And then we come full circle to what we started off talking about, which is privilege.
Yeah.
A lot of children are not
Yeah.
able to choose a path that they think they want or they truly enjoy because of the realities of putting food on the table, earning money to be able to be able to do the things that they actually want to do. So there is a balance between idealism and practicality, right? And ultimately you have to be able to earn money and be financially stable. But again, if you can at least, and this is what I told my eldest when she was choosing her university course, if you can at least identify what you don't want to do, you absolutely abhor, and you
that's a
just
help.
don't, that helps. Then you've already, you know, taken all those things out of the equation. Then you look at what else is available. What do you think you can do? And, you know, just deal with it for a few years so that you
I suppose
make money.
as an understanding parent,
Yeah.
you know, then, you know, you could say, well, just get a degree so that if your art ultimately fails or whatever it is you choose to be fails, you have that to fall back on, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a thing too. So art is a perilous path, but it beckons us and we cannot stop. Nor should we stop other people, you know.
That's
We
right.
can only
That's
try and
right.
help them.
That's right. And if anyone, as you say, wants to have a chat, wants to discuss stuff, you know, you can reach Fuan, you can reach me. We are
Always mostly available.
make an appointment. Call us first.
Call us. Okay, are we good? Fantastic.